That's right. That's the energy that I want. So this keynote, who I'm about to bring up, I have been trying to get her here for years. Literally years, because she is fantastic and a huge inspiration to me and so many others. She is a woman of many names and many talents, and I will try to get all of them right. Please join me in welcoming our first keynote of the day, Lola Akinmade Åkerström.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. That was great. You got it. I'm so excited to be here. Really excited to be here. Before I jump in, I wanted to make two quick comments. I was super excited when Nikki Vargas mentioned Barbara Hillary. If you don't know Barbara, this is somebody you need to Google. An amazing, amazing woman. A few years ago, Barbara and I were planning an expedition together. I was supposed to follow her and document this expedition, but it never came to pass because we didn't get any funding. We were not attractive enough. Barbara was old, and I was very African. And we didn't get any funding, and I was really upset, and Barbara told me, she said, Lola, the world doesn't owe you a damn thing. So if you know Barbara Hillary, you understand the context. She's like, you know what? It sucks when it comes to entitlement, but if you go through with that mindset that nobody owes you a damn thing, then rejection will lose its sting. And then the second thing, since I'm talking about finding your extraordinary voice, I actually want to dedicate this presentation to Gloria. If you know Gloria. Because if you read the post she wrote last night, transparently chronicling a battle, recent health scare, I just want to let her know we're thinking about her. So this is for you, Glo. So, 9 years ago, I was at a travel festival in London. And I was sitting in the front row of a panel. It was an all-male panel. They were all travel editors from prestigious magazines. And the audience was mostly women. And next to me was a stranger, a middle-aged white lady, so maybe in her late 50s, early 60s, stranger, never met each other before. And we just started kind of having, random chit-chat to fill in the time. She says, why are you here? I said, I'm here because I want to be inspired by all the explorers. I want to know what these editors are looking for, right? She's like, okay, cool. Have you been published before? I said, yes. I've had work in the BBC, Lonely Planet, and National Geographic. And she says, really? I thought you had to be extraordinary to be published by National Geographic. So, my name is Onora Lola Olua Akinmade Åkerström. I'm an award-winning travel writer, best-selling author, and photographer represented by... So, today I'm going to be sharing my journey with you, how I went from programmer to photographer to the different things I do now, but also sharing how you can find your own quote-unquote extraordinary voice. So, I'm going to start by defining the word extraordinary. What does it mean? So, the Merriam-Webster describes extraordinary as going beyond what is usual, regular, or customary. What is going beyond what is usual, regular, and customary? The Oxford Dictionary describes it as very unusual or remarkable, but I'll stick with very unusual. Very unusual. So the usual, the regular, the customary, that's where society has collectively placed value on. Anything that falls outside of that is out of the ordinary. So I want to share this quote from Yomi Abiola. Yomi Abiola is a model, journalist, activist. She recently moved to Stockholm and became my new bestie. And she says the messages we get as women in society is that we are not extraordinary. The work we do is ordinary and sometimes unnamed. The contributions we make are undervalued. We strive to be seen and represented in areas that are traditionally eclipsed by men. So, before I really jump into the art of my talk, I'm going to give you my condensed life story so you kind of know how I got from Lagos, Nigeria to this stage in a few minutes. So, I was born and raised in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, and I went to a boarding school as well in Nigeria. And Africans in the room, when I mention the word boarding school, it has nothing to do with money and royalty and prep schools. It's actually like a work camp. You go there for months away from your family to build grit, character, independence. So, growing up in Nigeria, when I was 15, I moved to the US to start college the same week I turned 16 years old. So, I was very young when I came to the US to start in a new world, a new culture, to start college. So, I got a master's degree in information systems, worked as a programmer and system architect for many, many years in a field called geographic information systems. I don't know if anybody, lots of interactive maps, cool stuff, Google Maps kind of things. I did that until 13 years ago when I met a man online. I met a Swedish man online during a time when online dating had a lot of stigma attached to it, 2006. Where all the extraordinary people nobody wanted went there to find each other. So we found each other. And then I moved to Sweden. And that transition was one of the biggest transitions of my life because I left everything behind, took a leap of faith, trusting I would land. But as I was falling, a gust of wind picked me up, took me higher, much higher than I thought I could ever go. All right, so that's kind of my life story in a few kind of condensed minutes. But I want to talk about 3 stages of finding your extraordinary voice and how different transitions in my life helped me find my own voice. And so we're going to talk about discovery, discovering your extraordinary voice, amplification, amplifying that extraordinary voice, and maturity, maturing that extraordinary voice. So discovery. Uncovering your voice. So one of the big transitions in my life was when I moved from Nigeria to the US at 15, right? So I moved into a new place with new rules I wasn't privy to, into a new culture with new rules I wasn't privy to. I found out that people had already created a neat little box for me that was supposed to just slide into culturally the minute I came into the US. Oh, come in, yeah, Africa, there's your box. Right there. Society didn't want to listen to me and my own story and my own truth because they had already created a narrative for me. So when I came as a teenager, society didn't want to really listen. I mean, this is what I looked like in the 90s. I mean, I was, just before being a geek was cool, I was a geek. Back then, I dressed, in questionable, who wears a vest, I don't know what that is. But people didn't know what to do with me when I came. People didn't know what to do with me. Plus, I had an even thicker Nigerian accent than I have now. By the way, I have kept my accent for many reasons, but it was much thicker back then. So I was already branded as different, out of the ordinary, extraordinary, but not in a flattering way. I was already branded as different. And so what happened? I became isolated for many, many years. Many, many years. Oftentimes, the source of our creative voice is a space or a place that was denied us. Oftentimes, the source of our creative voice is a space or a place that was denied us. There are so many champions in this room, of different causes. So I just picked a few. Amazing. How do you pick from an amazing group? Carol? When I think of diversity, Black and Latino, Hispanic, strong voices. Annette? And do you know who that is? Patagonia? Yes. Yeah. Because born from a lack of what we needed emotionally at the time we needed support, when our voices were just whispers, that space that was denied us is where the semblances of our voices start getting found. For me, it was isolation, right? So isolation is a very cruel place to be locked in against your own will. That was my first few years in the US. I wanted to be seen for who I already was, not who I was presumed to be. I wanted to exist in different spaces without explanation. I wanted to be listened to. That was all I wanted. And so, back in the 90s, this is the first screenshot of the website I had in the end of 2000s. But back in the 90s, I already had a website because I wanted to show people who I was. I'm a traveler. I'm a photojournalist. I'm an artist. This is who I am. This is who I am. So back in the late 90s, I already had a website trying to tell people this is who I am. And this quote from Shyamala Goplan, who was the mother of Senator Kamala Harris, says, "Don't let people tell you who you are. Tell them who you are." Tell them who you are. So as an African writer and photographer, this was again discovering my own voice. I wanted to visually show people who I was, even when they weren't ready to sit down and listen to me, when they didn't want to take time to listen to me. That's what I wanted to do, show people who I was. And so, what was denied me was what I decided I wanted to give to others through discovering my voice. And when I mentioned a few of the champions there, there are many of us in the room, but what was denied you is what you try to give to others. Years of isolation was what pushed me to photographing people. Because photographing people means listening. And for many years, nobody wanted to listen to my voice. Photographing people means listening to verbal and nonverbal cues. It means looking them in the eye and truly hearing what they have to say. Looking them in the eye and listening to them. That moment of connection, when it's just you and them. You're looking at each other, you see each other fully, completely. Yeah. I see you. 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 Isolation gave birth to my creative voice, which is framed by listening. Hmm? So, discovery. That was it. So, that was how my own creative voice was born. Now, amplification. How did that voice get amplified? Right? How did it get amplified? Amplifying your voice. So, I want us to do a quick exercise together, if we can, if the fire marshal wouldn't be upset. But at the count of 3, I want you to scream as loudly as you can. Can we do that? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. You don't know how powerful your voice is until you scream. You don't know how powerful your creative voice is until you scream. Hmm? So, pinpointing what drove my work, knowing that time where I was isolated, um, it grew that voice of wanting to be seen and to listen. The United States helped me find my voice, right? Because the voice grows from those spaces that were denied you. Sweden made me scream. Sweden made me scream. Sweden. My love-hate relationship with Sweden. Because centuries of homogeneity has built a very insular society, which excludes as its inbuilt default. Wonderful country, wonderful people, but centuries of being the same automatically excludes differences. That's Sweden, just also autopilot. And I'm going to do a quick shameless plug. I actually wrote a book just about Swedish culture and the mindset that's in 18 different languages around the world. And I call Sweden the most open society run by the most private people. It really is. Wonderful country, wonderful people, open, but again, very reserved. Your voice gets amplified when society tries to push it back into the space that gave birth to your voice. Right? So when I came to the US, I was isolated. I found my voice. When I moved to Sweden and Sweden tried to push me back, I screamed. I've already been there. I don't want to be there again. So your creative voice gets amplified when society tries to push it back into the space that birthed your voice. Your voice gets stronger when you continue to witness that denial, right? That denial. It gets stronger. Whatever cause it is you're fighting, whatever cause it is you're championing, your voice gets stronger and stronger when you keep witnessing it. To the point where I took over Sweden's official Twitter account to tell them who I was. I'm a Nigerian travel writer and photographer called Lola Akinmade who loves culture and rugby and is an idealist. Yeah? Took over their biggest platform to yell, to scream. So how does this all translate into my work as a travel writer and a photographer? How? How does this all? By the way, I was just scared of leeches just all throughout that shoot. I didn't want no leeches on me. That act of listening, truly listening to nuance and what others are trying to say or have said is what drives my work. Because that was what was denied me. That was what was denied me for many years. That's what keeps pushing me into spaces that helps normalize our nullified voices on the mainstream level. That's why I do what I do, is to get up into that mainstream level to say, my voice is also valid. My dream, and I was telling Annette this, my dream is to one day be able to, for society to get to the point where celebrating a black travel photographer is nothing. Like I want them to be like, oh, okay, that's fine. That's where we need to be. That it's nothing, that I see it every day, that it's not unique. That's where we need to be. That's what I do to try and normalize it so you don't bat an eyelid. We're not there yet. That's where we need to be. So, in my travel writing, this means I step out and let my characters describe themselves. Because Rachel already said, we all have our own voices. We just need to be invited, right? Let the characters speak for themselves. Let them describe themselves. Step out of your own travel writing so the people you meet can speak for themselves and tell you who they are. In my travel photography, I try to capture that moment of connection in the eyes of my subjects. That moment where it's just me and you, we are nakedly looking at each other, and I see you fully. That's what I look for as a travel photographer. That moment where you truly see each other. Yeah. Where you truly see each other, just randomly. Those are the moments of connection I look for in my work. Because my work, this pretty much sums up my work. My work is a visual representation of the words, I see you. I see you. I see you. I definitely saw him. I see you. I see you, girl with the tiger tattoo in the remote part of Wales. I see you. Oh, I saw you. Nancy New, my travel guide in China. I see you. This was in Uzbekistan. I think I was probably the first black woman she had seen. And you could tell in her eyes, oh my God. I see you. I see. Oh, I know. I'm missing one photo, which didn't make it, but it was a photo of Ernest Fly Brother, or as my daughter calls him, Fly Boo Boo. I don't know what happened, but it's missing. But Matt, yeah. I got to know Matt when he lived in Stockholm for a few months. I got to know Matt outside the noise, and I'm proud to call him my friend. So I see you, Matt. I see you, Matt. I see you, Michael Longo. He's a travel writer. I think some of you might know Michael as well. I see you. I see you. I see you, Taylor, who just wanders the streets looking for somebody's clothes to mend. I see you. I see you. Wow. Do you see the photos there? Okay. I see you. This is Nicholas Ekstedt. He's a Michelin-starred chef in Sweden. A popular guy. I see you. I see you. Let's see. I have so many photos that seem to have disappeared, but we'll keep going. I see you. Yeah. I see you. I see you, Rosella, who lives in the middle of nowhere in Emilia Romagna. She and her husband make terracotta pans in the middle of nowhere. Well, I see you. I even see you, King of Sweden. I see you. I saw you. Yeah. Yeah. That's the king. Yeah. I see you, Niels Nuti, indigenous Sami, inviting people into his culture on his own terms. I see you, Isabel, who is a forest therapy guide in Spain. Yeah. So, I see you. Sorry, I lost some photos there. I don't know what happened, but it's all right. You get the gist. So now that you've amplified your voice, maturity, how does that voice mature. Hmm? We all know change is good. Change is necessary. Change is the only constant in life, right? If we don't evolve creatively, we're going to metaphorically die in our industry. You have to evolve with it. But it's actually the difference between surfing waves and getting sucked in by waves. When you surf, you skim, right? You adjust your style, but you ride the wave. When you decide to just jump in, there could be a current that can pull you away, suck you up, and overpower you. So as a travel photographer, I measure my progression by how quickly I can connect with people. That's for me, my own matrix. How can I quickly connect with them and see them and listen to them? Hmm? Because it's those ordinary interactions with those strangers that make extraordinary stories, right? It's those ordinary interactions with them that make those extraordinary stories. Let's see. Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but the PowerPoint is eating up my images. And it's fine. It's fine. Trying to void their voices so we don't see them. No. Yeah. So it's those ordinary interactions with strangers that make wonderful stories. Huh? The lady I showed you, Rosella, this is her husband, Mauricio. A random wedding in Tirana, Albania. I just, walking by and they let me in. Yeah. Yes. I usually ask them first. Yeah. Yeah. Because that once you want to take somebody's photo, it no longer becomes about what you want, but what they are willing to give you. And then I yes. Let's see. So I apologize that you're not seeing these lovely portraits. I don't know what's going on, but the ones we can see, we'll see. Huh? Ladies, market women in Nigeria. Jerry, a fisherman in the Seychelles. I went out with them. I was 6 months pregnant. We went out to pull up their fishing traps. Yeah. So my visual voice. Now, so I would say I found my visual voice, right? My visual voice is a lot of color, eye contrast. And that's because I grew up in Nigeria. I grew up around a lot of color. I grew up around a lot of contrast. Dark skin, white teeth, dark skin against blue sky. A lot of contrast. Am I not allowed to share my view of the world within travel photography as an African, right? Do I have to be photographing only African subjects to be taken seriously? So that's my visual voice. I mean, if you see my work together, people will instantly know this is a style, right? But these are the unspoken rules within our industry. Because others have gotten so much more for so much less. And I'll give you an example. This is why when a white bro dude, as we always say, takes a photo of the same scene, it could be celebrated. But if I took it, did you take that? Is what I always get. Unspoken rules. Yeah? Did you take that? The goal lines keep getting moved because I'm not shooting what someone that looks like me is supposed to be shooting. I work as a professional travel photographer. That's my job. Yeah. I can shoot the same thing that guy shot, except why is he more valued than me? So that's my goal. I'm trying to normalize Black women as professional travel photographers on the mainstream level, right? So you don't have to bat an eyelid. That's why a black woman, African, can be the Bill Muster Travel Photographer of the Year. Yeah? I don't have to be shooting a single story for my voice to be relevant. You just have to listen to my voice, listen to what I want to tell you, show you. So in psychology, maturity is often described as the ability to respond to the environment in an appropriate manner. How you respond, right, is how you can measure your maturity. And so I went back to that old website I did to compare it to my new website to see kind of how I have progressed over the years, how my voice has changed over the years or not changed. And this is what my website looked like back then. One of my favorite quotes up there, to be nobody but yourself in a world that's doing its best to make you somebody else is to fight the hardest battle you're ever going to fight. Never stop fighting. That's my favorite quote. Again, the website black with this kind of rotten melon, orange, yellow color. I don't know what it is. But I love it. It's my rotten yellow melon color. And probably the first ever influencer selfie staged. Look away, drink, like. So I compared that to my new website, right? My new website is cleaner, I'll say it's a lot more elegant. I'm using more modern tools to communicate my voice in a more elegant way. That is how I've adapted over time. That's how you adapt your voice over time, by using modern tools to amplify and refine it, but not change your voice. You use, again, remember the skimming the waves versus getting sucked in? You use modern tools to amplify and refine your voice. So I went back to my new sites, and you see down there what has changed or what has stayed the same. The same quote from the very first time I developed my voice and showed my creative voice. To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you everybody else, means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight. Never stop fighting. The right to exist without explanation in different spaces. So once you find your voice and you are fully plugged into its courage, to its tone, to its wavelength, you stop adapting to every trend. You just find the tools within the trend to amplify and refine your voice. You don't have to adapt to everything, right? Because if I did, I'll forever be changing my voice to cater to people. I'll forever be changing just to cater. We all know this, yet we drive ourselves crazy, right? We drive ourselves insane. You continue to fine-tune and mature your already extraordinary voice by using modern tools, social media, whatever platforms you want, to refine and amplify it. So, kind of wrapping up, the space that was denied you is where you will find the beginning embers, those beginning flickers of your creative voice. For those of you that are still kind of struggling where you fit, the sources of your pain is a good place to start looking. So remember the story I told you in the beginning about the lady that said, when I told her, I had been published in BBC, Lonely Planet, National Geographic, and she said, really? Yeah, I thought you had to be extraordinary. What I told her then was, after about 2-3 seconds of shock, I was like, I said, you have to be able to tell a good story and pitch it. That's what I told her back then. Because besides her preconceived notions of me as a black woman, how could she see me as extraordinary if she didn't even see herself as extraordinary? How could she see me? And again, to my friend Yomi, people only see as far for you as they see for themselves, right? People only see as far for you as they see for themselves. So if I could travel back in time to that lady and talk to her, when she asked me, I thought you had to be extraordinary, I would say, who says I'm not? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I do apologize. I had a lot more photos of people and portraits, but it's all right. You got Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, of course. So if you've got any questions, yeah.
Thank you so much, Lola. Oh my gosh, that was so inspirational. Anyone have any questions? I'm coming. Oh, all the way to the end.
Thank you so much. My name's Karina. I have a travel clothing company, and this is just incredible. Like, Lola, honestly, this was amazing. So I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say that was so inspiring. On your journey to find your extraordinary voice, did you ever struggle with your inner voice and those feelings of not being enough, not being good enough, not doing enough, not measuring up to what's out there? And if so, how did you work through it?
Sorry. Oh, there we go. Hello? Oh, perfect. Sorry. I mean, that's something you struggle with for the rest of your life, right? I mean, it's not something you're going to answer. But what can help you is understanding who is your competition. Is it you? Or are you getting sucked in by the noise by somebody else on a different path in life? Right? Because sometimes when we think we're not enough, it's because we're comparing ourselves to other people on totally different paths in life. I always say, I had a friend of mine once that was complaining about the industry, and she has kids and was just complaining. And I said, why are you complaining about people that don't have kids? You've got mouths to feed, right? You're on a different path in life. What you need to do is be your own example. If you don't see it, right? It's U2 is my favorite band, and one of my favorite lyrics they sing is, "Would you deny for others what you demand for yourself?" And it's be the example you want to be out there. So yes, I struggle all the time. Am I enough? Right? But then I realized I'd already found that voice. I've already matured it. Things are going to change around me as long as I stay true to my conviction, my own kind of values and things that I cherish, things that make me me. Then I wouldn't keep seeking validation from others. The reason I do a lot, because, and I mentioned this, is the reason I always enter contests or try and get these awards is to normalize a Black woman winning those awards. It's not because I just want accolades all the time. It's so that you don't care after a while that I'm Black doing this, that it becomes your new normal. That's why I fight this. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but it's somewhere in there.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you. I think we all feel the same in this room that if you could run for president, I'm back in your campaign.
Thank you.
Number one.
Thank you.
Number two, you have a future as a preacher. Or three, a life coach for sure. You definitely need some and I would love to invite you to do a retreat with a very famous life coach.
Oh, thank you.
But I think you also, as a privileged white woman who struggles to see beyond my own barriers, and it's amazing how many privileged, wealthy, middle-aged white women who've been staying home who set barriers for themselves.
Yes.
Unbelievable, all the time. We all create barriers, and you have really real barriers, and it just upsets me to imagine that people wouldn't accept someone as beautiful as you as this rock and roll preacher, champion of women and everything else that you are, because you are so much more than just an award-winning travel photographer.
Yeah.
So kudos.
Thank you.
Not a question, sorry.
Thank you. And I do want to say, because Liberia, she actually mentioned that I wish people knew they had more options, and that's what people like. And I'll give you an example. When I was going to get my American passport, my naturalization ceremony, It took me 16 years to get my American passport. And on the way out was a lady who was sitting, an American lady. But I think she had maybe some issues or maybe drug problems, but she was begging for money. And I looked at her and I said, drug addiction is it's a terrible disease. But she had so much options. She doesn't know that a passport, just being an American, right, already gave her so much privilege than all the people in there that spent 16 years, many of them not seeing family for years because they couldn't travel, right? So sometimes we don't know what we have that others are struggling to get. So sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Lola.
Yeah.
I'm Jess Primavera, and I have a startup called Unbound. I built an app to try to democratize travel. But in this space, being a founder and being in tech as a woman, there's not a lot of us.
No.
And so you talked a bit about trying to normalize, but I was hoping you could talk a little bit more about how did you get support along the way
yes.
and the other people that lifted you up and brought you along.
Correct. And I was going to say also, no woman is an island because you always have support and family and friends that believe in you, you know. And and for me also, I've got 3 sisters that keep me really grounded as well. But I'll say getting in the beginning, right, required some audacity. Because if you are so used to rejection, it loses its sting after a while. With National Geographic or all those other publications, I just pitched them, even though somebody was talking about women don't pitch because they feel they're underqualified. Mm-hmm. I was so underqualified for everything I pitched, but I pitched it, right? Because I remember last year, Onika was giving a presentation at a Keynote at TravelCon, and she said, if you could carry yourself with the confidence of a mediocre white guy, because they already think they're amazing. They think they're overqualified. And I'm sorry to point that, but she had a point, meaning guys already overvalue themselves. So it's us getting out of our own heads, right, to pitch. And just in terms of support, communities as well, right? Because communities are so important. But you know what the blind spot is? Exclusion. So when you create the community to highlight the fact that we're being excluded, it becomes an excluded community where we just reach for resources to get opinion pieces or, oh, there's a community there, let's get them to talk and have a commentary. So I don't have all the answers. I don't have any, all the answers, but of course having, supportive communities, friends, family, people that will prop you, but also not being audacious and saying, you know what, you found your own voice, you know what you can do, and just going for your dream, and getting out of your own way. That's kind of all I can offer, So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, we have one last question, and then I'm sure Lola will stick around for
Yes,
y'all.
Hello.
Hey.
My name's Kaylin, and thank you for everything you just talked about. You almost had me in tears back here at multiple points. But I have a travel blog, and I often talk about activism that I'm doing along the way and social justice topics that don't seem to be as cool as others, or as trendy as other ones that people are picking up. And I was just wondering, have you ever felt fear in pitching a project that you think, people really don't want to hear about? And if so, how do you move past that fear with, carrying on your own dreams, even when it's not?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And again, it depends on why you're doing it in the first place, right? Are you doing it just because you want to share what you're learning or kind of spotlight these issues? Or do you want it because you just want to be known for this?
Yeah.
They're different, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if you're doing it because you're truly passionate about it, it doesn't matter if it's just one or two people reading. You're going to keep putting it out there because you're passionate. That's what sustains you over those years. The true passion for what you're doing. And it can be frustrating, if you feel like you're just shouting in a space, in a box. But keep doing it if it's what you truly want to do, right? Because at the end of the day, when all the noise falls, you're still standing because you've put in all those years of investment in what you really want to do. And then just, if you feel like this story is so important to you, but the publications and the outlets you are trying to pitch are not interested, then create your own. I mean, that's what Unearthed Women is, right? Create your own. You know what? Screw this. I don't need your platform. This is important. Your platform is a space that you don't want my voice in. Then I'll just create my own space or find people that are willing to listen. So that's what I would do. I don't know if that helps or not.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lola. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you, guys.